Hollywood is the largest psyops campaign in the history of the world.
Tyler Gray is a former U.S. Army Delta Force operator, actor, and producer, known best for his roles as Trent Sawyer in the CBS series SEAL Team.
I think it's GTB-7S. You do realize the fact that you can tell that from here is a bit freakish, right? I like freakish.
Tyler served nearly a decade in Army Special Operations, including 4.5 years with the 2nd Ranger Battalion and his time with 1st Special Operations Detachment, Delta. He worked as both a sniper and assaulter before sustaining life-altering injuries in Iraq. He is the author of his book, Forged in Chaos, and is with us today. Let's welcome him to the show.
Yeah, I was living my dream job, living my dream life, and then, eventually it all ended. And I looked at my arm, and it was just hamburger. Luckily, a friend got to me and actually put the tourniquet on me and saved my life. And I don't think I would have died right then, but you know how once you get to that point of blood loss,
yeah,
I think I was probably 20 seconds, from that is my guess. The biggest problem is, PTS or PTSD. It's this is the problem. And that's not true. The core disease in the veteran community is self-worth.
The unit, Delta Force, has been getting a lot of exposure for Venezuela, Iran. I mean, at Venezuela, what's your kind of impression of what we know about that operation?
Well, I'll say this. I think people would be shocked at the level of things that have been accomplished but aren't widely known.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Today is a really exciting day because we got another American hero on the show that I love getting into all the topics we've been talking about lately, some of the topical topics. But ultimately, this show, the Resilient Show, was founded to share the stories of our warriors, both in the military and first responder communities, and not just their time in service, but how they transitioned, the hardships they overcame, and what they're doing now. And today's guest is just a phenomenal example of service, sacrifice, but then being resilient, transitioning to doing things outside the uniform. And so with us today is Tyler Gray, a former U.S. Special Operator who served at the highest level of Tier 1, served as a Delta Force assaulter and sniper, did time in combat, and actually sustained some serious injuries, life-altering injuries in combat, but went beyond that, took off the uniform and continued forward, and now is serving in Hollywood and representing the military community in Hollywood as an actor, a writer, a producer, going to do some directing, and an author of a book. We have his book here called Forged in Chaos. And so with that, Tyler, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Glad to be here. It took a while to coordinate this. So
it did, but man, like I said, I get to interview a lot of our military warriors, but this one was super special to me because our lanes intersect in so many areas. We have, I seen you walked in today with Warrior's Heart.
Oh yeah,
hat on.
yeah.
Tom Spooner,
Tom's awesome. Yeah,
amazing dude, and the Forged in Chaos is incredible book about your story. But we also, I know you didn't go a lot into in the book, but we're also fellow believers. You're a man of faith. But man, it's just so awesome to see guys serve, and then when they get out, instead of sitting back and collecting 100% disability check and being a social dependent the rest of your life, which is valid. You could have done that, but choosing to do something else and take another chapter. And so you did that with the same level of success. You've excelled, and now you've served in I see you served. You were in the show's SEAL team for 8 years or so.
Yeah, well, I mean, you use the word served, which it's kind of true in the sense that, it's definitely behind enemy lines. Working in Hollywood, it can be a rough place. And for me, when I kind of went out to Hollywood, I had a lot of people go like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Look, whether people admit it or not, Hollywood is the largest psyops campaign in the history of the world."
Yeah.
Right. And far as veterans or military stories, I said, look, here's the reality. These stories are going to be told with or without our approval or involvement. That's just a fact. And so I'm like, since that's going to happen, I think someone needs to go out there and try and get those stories that are going to be made about us no matter what, try and get them told as accurately and as authentically as possible. So we are portrayed, and again, not in a good or bad light, because there's good and bad elements. It's just in a more authentic light, so people understand this world and the people in it.
Man, I love that you say that, because I think every veteran, particularly those in the special operations community that goes out and writes a book, shares their story, is involved in the movie. Some people love it, but they're also oftentimes attacked. Like, we have this kind of oath of secrecy or privacy, but in protecting the community. But the truth is, we have a responsibility to make sure our stories are told correctly. And I could tell you that I joined the military because of military books and military movies. It inspired me. So we have a responsibility also to inspire the next generation.
100%.
And to make sure it's done right. So what's your take on that, on the hate and some of that negativity behind it?
Yeah. So here's something that I'll say. I think I first said this on Travis Haley's podcast, but at some point, for whatever reason, the community, especially my old unit, is the most guilty, at least in my opinion, of this. At some point, it turned into silent professional. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, we were never supposed to be silent professionals. We're supposed to be quiet ones. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference between being silent and being quiet. And what I've learned is, if all the professionals are truly silent, then the community's image is going to be dictated by the loud unprofessionals. And that's just the reality.
Sure.
And so in my opinion, the silent professionals, in my opinion, have a duty to become quiet professionals, to try and put out there the right information, not try and heroize themselves and talk about how great they are, but put out accurate, authentic information so that the loud unprofessionals don't dictate the narrative of who you're supposed to be, what the community is. We're not superheroes, invincible superheroes that feel nothing and super badass. That's not us. That's not, at least the majority. And people who push that narrative, I don't agree with it, and I see through it. Anyone who's truly secure is secure because they know how weak they are. And projecting strength is actually weakness, and projecting weakness is actually strength. So personally, I feel that, we need to have more quiet professionals put themselves out there and put their stories out there to tell these young kids, this new generation. When you got kids today looking up to the Andrew Tates of the world, there's a reason for that. And the reason is because they have no other role models, or no other role models. They don't know what a man is. Yeah. Straight up. And so let me back up. I'll tell you what they have figured out. They have figured out that the nice, soft man who's nice to girls, who's nice to everyone, they've figured out that doesn't work. Right. And they're pissed off about it. So then they're getting pushed to the Andrew Tates of the world. Is he extreme? 100%. Mm-hmm. Do I agree with almost anything he says? No. But him saying to not be nice, and all these different things, that is something that's resonating, because as boys transition to men, we've gotten rid of the masculine rite of passage.
You say young boys have a desire to be masculine because that's what they were created and wired to do.
Exactly. And there's no more rite of passage where we take young boys, kidnap them from the village. They stay out in the, wherever for 2-3 days, and then they come back and then they're treated as men. That doesn't exist anymore, except for pretty much the military. Right. And so these kids are looking for masculine role models, and in a vacuum of them, they're going to find the Andrew Tates of the world. And it's, I think, our duty to show them that masculinity isn't that. It's quiet strength, but what it's not is complete and total, constant kindness and being rolled over and being taken advantage of. And so I think we have a duty to show the next generation of what masculinity really is.
Yeah. And then, like you said, steward it too, and make sure that, advising, like you're doing, military advising, make sure these stories are told correctly. Yeah. And I would say, like, we definitely want to get into your story, but while we're here, I'll say that SEAL Team, the movie, one of the first things I noticed about it when I first saw it was like, hey man, that looks like a team room.
Mm-hmm.
That cage,
Yeah.
that's what a cage looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that right away. And I know you had a big part of that. How's all that work behind the scenes to take your producer, actor, advisor on SEAL Team? How's all that work?
I mean, sorry, what do you mean by how?
Like how's it when a movie gets made?
Yeah.
Like SEAL Team, like it goes from like script to screen.
Yeah.
What's the due diligence, I guess, to make sure that the authenticity is there? Because it's not always there in most films.
No. I mean, what it comes down to is that Hollywood is a machine, and it is a shockingly well-oiled machine. Mm-hmm. I've taken like Caleb Cry one time came to set and saw like the logistics, and he's like, "Holy cow, this is amazing! Like the military could learn a lot from the way the logistics are done.
The efficiencies, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable."
Yeah.
And everyone does. There's a lot of parallels, by the way. Everyone does one job, so when that department or when that's lacking, everyone knows who's responsible, just like kind of the military. But it's because it's such a well-oiled machine, they don't want anything to get in the way of that process. So when you're talking about military stuff, where most military advisors go wrong is they try and change Hollywood to fit no, it has to be this way, it has to be done this way, no, you're not going to change that. You're not going to change that industry. So where I've been successful is I came in, first of all, I love film, I understand I love it, and so I came in, I went, okay, I'm not going to try and change their process, I'm going to try and figure out how to sell authenticity to them as something other than authenticity. And the way I think I was really successful is I sold authenticity, not as authenticity, but as time savings and cost savings. Time and money, they care about. Time is money, obviously. So that's what they care about. They don't care about whether a helmet's right or not. Hollywood doesn't care, period. It's just a fact. They care about the story. They care about all these different things. And so I focused on, how could I manipulate what I want out of that system rather than trying to force that system to revolve around me.
What led you, I guess, what's the transition for you to get you into Hollywood? Was it an opportunity to advise, or
no,
desire to do it?
No. So I was very lucky in that when I was a kid, there was two things I wanted to do. That's it. Two things. I wanted to be in special operations, Army specifically, because of two reasons. One, I don't float, so anything with the water was out. But two, Rambo, First Blood, technically. Yeah. And I should say, and Rambo in general. But First Blood, I was like, I want to be a Green Beret. That was just that from whatever year that came out, 80, whatever it was. That was just what I wanted to do. And then the other thing, partly also because of First Blood, was work in film. I love storytelling. I loved, I think as a kid, I shut off all emotion. So it's a longer story, but the only time I would feel something was when I watched movies. I didn't really realize that until, last couple of years. But so that was it. That's what I wanted to do. And then when my military career ended, when I got hurt, I went to the second thing, which was I went out to Hollywood. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any experience. I didn't have any education. I just went out there and started grinding. And it took me a while, but I eventually, got to a place where I was working consistently and had some great opportunities. And mainly because of my passion, it's like I tell, people ask about selection courses in the military, like, what dictates this and how do people make this versus that don't? I tell everyone the same thing. Everyone, the only way that you can make any selection process, I don't care what it is you have to want it bad enough to overcome the level of discomfort that is being presented. If you don't want it bad enough, you're not going to cruise through any of those selection courses, right? And I'll just kind of finish my thought on that. It's a little off topic, but I'll say it is so many people, I'll use SEALs, obviously, a lot of kids that fail, buds, not that I was, buds instructor, but I'm saying anything, if kids that fail anything are failing because they don't want to be SEALs. They want to be ex-SEALs. And if you want to be an X because you're trying to prove something to yourself and trying to get the title of a badass that people respect, later, that's not enough. That's not enough. It's not going to carry you through the level of discomfort and pain that you're going to have to go on.
Not when you're laying down in 50 degrees.
2 a.m. freezing. It's not going to get you through. What's going to get you through is you having the passion to do that actual job, to be it, not to be an X.
Yeah. So you talk about SEALs. You were a Delta Force guy, but you play the part of a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, I've literally been a SEAler next to, I think, 5 times now in Hollywood. Yeah.
Did you audition for the role of a advisor or an actor for SEAL team?
No, with SEAL team. So the pilot happened. I am good friends with, now he's out, Marco and Matt Bissonette, he's out, normal name now. And he had never worked, I had been advising at that point for, I don't know, at least 7 years, I think. And so, and he had, he was an executive producer, but he had never, worked on set. So he called me up and was like, hey man, like I this pilot's happening. I can't do it. He also had a time commitment and he asked if I could. So I think that was a Wednesday. I flew down there on a Friday and became the advisor for the pilot. When the pilot, the way I got on camera was we were filming the pilot. Actually, I think it's before we started filming, but I told the producers, I said, hey, you don't have enough people on this team. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, you've got a scene where, you have 4 principal actors on the team. And I'm like, they come into a room and there's like women, and children injured. And I'm like, and you have them basically just coming into the room. Actually, I think it was in the doorway, but you have them stopping in the doorway and having this conversation, all 4 of them. And I'm like, that's not going to work. And they're like, what do you mean? I go, someone's got to clear the room. Someone's got to start attending to the women and children, or it's going to look ridiculous, right? So I'm like, you need other people on the team to do stuff in that environment. And you guys haven't, I know the environment, you don't, you're going to see what I mean. And so they were like, oh, okay. And to their credit, they listened and they're like, well, you want to do it? And I was like, sure. So that was how I got on the show.
And you didn't act before.
I learned very early on. So I did a movie called Snitch with Dwayne Johnson in like 2012. My buddy worked on it for, I think, 3 weeks as an actor. I worked on it for 3 months. He made 3 times more than me. I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen again. So after that, I basically just said, hey, I'll advise, but you're going to put me on an actor contract because you need the union protection, and not to get too much into it. But that was my first speaking role, was on that movie Snitch with my good buddy Rick Waugh. And then after that, Suicide Squad or anything I did after that, it was just, hey, put me on camera. I'll do some of the technical stunts that you'd have to hire someone to do anyways, and I'd have to teach them to do it. It's easier if I just do it, and then we'll figure out the contract from there. So that's how I got on camera. Was just trying to make more money. I never wanted to be an actor. That was never my thing.
You have a pretty good list of films that you've advised.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. I've done decent.
What are some of the big ones? Suicide Squad, of course.
Well, Suicide Squad. I just did a movie called War Machine. I did obviously SEAL Team, Accountant 2. Sometimes I'm not credited as the military advisor. Sometimes I'm credited as the tactical advisor. So I think I have a couple credits as tactical advisor. Kandahar was a movie that I did. And Accountant 2 was one I was really proud of because the action came out really good. It's it's each project is completely different, and you have to work within kind of the politics of that film and of that project. But it's a hard industry because there's no guarantees. You're a mercenary, and when a project comes, Suicide Squad, great example, called on a Thursday, and they're like, can you leave tomorrow for 6 months? You know what I mean? You can't really have a regular job, while you're trying to live your dream. And so that was very, difficult for me to have any kind of real stability while I was chasing that dream.
Is SEAL Team that's still going?
No, SEAL Team ended. Yeah, season 7 was the end.
It
So
wrapped it up.
yeah, we
So I didn't know if
ended
there
the
was anything
show.
coming or not, but it's
What's that, sir?
I didn't know if anything was coming up with it, but it's
No. Paramount's gone through so much. I mean, the buyouts and everything. I think I don't see anything developing there, and I think also we told that story. I don't really see. I think it would have to be a new story to be told, in my opinion. And there's a lot of stories to tell. The crazy part for me, season 2 on the show, I did season 1, season 2, I started getting, it aired season 1, obviously. And I started getting Instagram messages where kids would talk about the show and, I want to join either in general or to become a SEAL. And no matter how many times I say I wasn't a SEAL, I still get people asking me about BUD/S. I was not a SEAL. I've never been to BUD/S. Please don't ask me about I just screwed myself because now I'm going to get like 100 emails. Yeah. But it's, there was a show called Tour of Duty when I was in the 80s. It was about Vietnam, right? I watched that show religiously. And, Rambo or First Blood,
Sure.
and, all the, Platoon, you name it, all the 80s movies about Vietnam. But Tour of Duty was a TV show as opposed to a movie, and I watched it every week. And it was just crazy as I got these messages, and it hit me all of a sudden. I'm like, oh my God, this show is some kid's tour of duty. And when I realized that, the responsibility of it was pretty extreme when I realized the responsibility. And what I think we did well on that show,
it's a recruiting tool. I mean,
it is. Oh, it is. And actually, I was just going to comment on that. It's a recruiting tool, but the responsibility that I felt we had and what I think we did a good job at was, is it cool to fast rope out of a Black Hawk onto a building? And, is that cool? Does it look cool? Yes, it does. Is it cool? Yes, it is. However, I think we did, and that's all a recruiting, from the military commercial is. What I think we did a very honest job of is going, yes, the job is cool. This is cool. That's cool. However, this job comes with this cost. And I think we did a very good job of showing the cool side, but also showing the reality of what doing the cool stuff cost you and your family.
Telling the full story.
The full story. And as long as, kids or whatever know that, then it's a very honest. I mean, personally for me, I watched First Blood. And, freaking Rambo's, got PTSD, and I'm like, that's cool. I want that, like I was that kid, I was like, he's going crazy. I want to go crazy, so I wasn't normal in that sense, but I'm very proud of the, kind of the full picture that I think we told with the show.
So what was Hell Week like? No, just kidding. had to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I mess with a lot of people. I always ask my friends, I'm like, so what was it like? Were you in the same class as Demi Moore? Screw you.
Well, I mean, I'm really good friends with Brad Geary. He was he's a commanding officer of BUD/S, and I mean, the NSW does such a good job of all the soft units of recruiting.
Oh, no question.
I mean, every teenage kid wants to be in
100%.
special operations, but mostly want to be a SEAL because of their recruiting. And so, I mean, that show had to be. Did you guys work with NSW at all at some point?
Nope.
Wow.
No, it's it's weird.
You guys were doing a good enough job that it was free. Free
Look,
for them.
man, you'd think that we would have gotten a call from someone and been like, hey, let's work together on this. Nope. Never got a
You
call.
guys are doing a good enough job.
But you'd think they would have given, hey, like, let's give you some assets or something. It's wild to me how isolated everything is, because we did work with the Marine Corps season 2. We went and filmed at Camp Pendleton, used an Osprey and filmed at Pendleton with some assets. That was awesome. But it was the Marine Corps, never got a single call from NSW or anyone else, which, it is what it is.
Yeah. I said, you guys are doing a good enough job. They probably didn't. But it would have been nice. Yeah. The Marine Corps does being as small as the Marine Corps is, the Marine Corps actually does a good job with their public relations as far as films and stuff.
That's who we were working with, and I cannot remember the guy's name for the life of me, but he was a great guy. He saw what we were doing, and so then we worked with the Marines, which they definitely got some bang for their buck on that. Sure. And I wish the other services would have been more open to to that. Although, to be fair to the services, the CBS wanted nothing to do with working with the military, because they don't, again, Hollywood has their process. And they didn't want the, scripts to have to be approved by the DOD, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now for me, I was going, look, I'm involved. So I'm going to tell you right now, they're not going to have a problem with anything we do because I'm filtering it before it gets to them. So I was kind of like, let's see what they say because, I know we're not going to do anything that they're going to have a problem with. And I don't think we ever, on 119 or whatever episodes, I don't think we did anything that they, would have
had a problem with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's go back to the beginning of where all this started. You talked several times about your kind of childhood dream of being in special operations and being in film. Like where'd you grow up and
well, where I grew up is somewhat relevant to that, So I grew up in Bakersfield, California, which is about an hour and a half north of LA.
Yeah.
So I grew up kind of in the shadow of Hollywood, so to speak. And, it's a desert wasteland, basically. Yeah. It's like when I got to Fallujah, I was like, wow, this looks like Bakersfield, and I wasn't joking.
I've driven through Bakersfield quite a bit going.
Yeah. Well, if you've been to Fallujah or Ramadi, it's not that far away, right? Or not that different. Both, Bakersfield's main product, oil, oil and country music,
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I grew up there and I just, I was a Star Wars fanatic, which for years I never put together the fact that Star Wars, the original, is about a kid trying to get out of a desert wasteland. And do more and go to war. And later I was like, oh, that's why that meant so much to me. It's like that was me, But yeah, I really wanted to tell stories. I just as early as I could remember, I just wanted to do more. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
I just felt trapped and I wanted to get out and explore and see the world and tell stories. And it was like a need that was so great. I couldn't contain it.
I'm always interested with special operators that worked at a high level and had the mental capacity to work at a high level. It drove them. And and it seems like both comes from either one or the other, like a really dysfunctional childhood or a very healthy. Seems like there's no between.
No, yeah. So Forged in Chaos is really, the title, you get creative and you're a writer and you think you're cool. Forged in Chaos, I wanted people to think that, Forged in Chaos is about being forged in the chaos of combat. It's like, it's a combat book. And there's, some combat stories in there. But if you read the book, you'll realize that Forged in Chaos is actually about my childhood.
Yeah.
And the one thing, when I was at Warrior's Heart, one of the big reasons for the book existing was I went to Warrior's Heart in 21, I think. And while I'm there, every single person there, and, I'm there with, I don't know, as the cycle goes, maybe 150 people, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And I'm realizing every person here has the same childhood story. Yeah. It's different in ways, but the basis, the beats are all the same, chaotic childhoods. And I was like, why aren't we talking about this? We're all here for addiction and we've all got the same childhood story. And that was when I started going, I think that's a critical similarity. And that was really when I started writing the book at Warrior's Heart, actually, in my notepad. I went through like several notepads of writing the book, and it was really about me seeing the same themes in other people as I saw in myself. And that's really what the book's about.
Hey guys, Chad Robichaux here, former Marine, humanitarian, and host of The Resilient Show. And I want to talk to you about Goldco. I do not like to promote anything that I'm not a personal user of. And one of the things I'm really into and have been for a while is just preparing for anything that could go wrong. From natural disasters to security threats to the grid going down and financial instabilities, particularly in our financial markets. And so a long time ago, I made the decision to invest in precious metals, mainly gold and silver, because to have those tangible assets on hand makes you prepared and makes you resilient. And that's what the Resilient Show is all about, informing, educating, and equipping people to be resilient. And I partnered with the #1 precious metals company in the industry because I want to bring the right people not only to my own family dynamic, but make them available to you. If you're looking for gold and silver tangible on hand, then they're the place to go to. They have become an incredible partner, and they have special bonus offers that you can find if you go to chadlikesgold.com. You could get If you buy with cash, you get 10% extra, a free gold or silver. You get your own safe at your house. For larger orders, you get a free home safe. There's tons of additional things you can get. So get equipped, be prepared, be resilient by going to chadlikesgold.com and get your tangible gold and silver today. I certainly think there's a predisposition to people that deal with traumatic stress and acute stress syndrome, PTS, because I've really picked up on that in the work we do at Mighty Oaks. I remember when we first started Mighty Oaks, we got all these warriors that are coming through the program, not just special operators, like guys like infantry guys that do half a dozen tours to Ramadi and Fallujah and Sangin, and like tons of combat, and they're there with a PTS diagnosis, and they show up, and by the end of the week they get to the point to where they're doing their chance to give their testimony, and waiting for them to start in Sangin or Ramadi, but they're like, when I was 7, when I was 5,
100%.
every time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, man, there's like a very clear predisposition, a narrative of the type of chaotic experiences that drive someone to be in those occupations. And then later on, when they are exposed to other stressors of that occupation, the childhood trauma surfaces.
No, you said it very correctly. So I'm going to throw something out here that's in the book, but I'm going to throw it out here because it's just the best time to do it. So everyone was telling me, PTSD, whatever you want to say, when I got out, everyone was giving me that diagnosis. And I'm like, all right, what does it mean? And they were like, this. And I go, okay, that's not my problem. Mm-hmm. And I go, oh, what do you mean? And I go, yeah, it just doesn't fit me. Mm-hmm. It doesn't fit me because everything that you're saying I should feel, I don't. So there's a problem here. And it got to the point where I won't get into it, but I finally just had a conversation with the therapist, and it really pissed me off. Basically, they were saying they were right because they had the education and I was wrong. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay. So I left, and I spent 3 or 4 years figuring out a theory that made sense to me. And I'm going to tell it to you. We tell it to everyone. And I don't care if somebody came in here with, if we had 80 mental health professionals with PhDs, what I'm about to say is right. And that is, I don't have PTSD. I think the vast majority of us in at least combat don't have PTS or PTSD. Mm-hmm. What we have is what I call LTSD. Mm-hmm. LTSD stands for lack of traumatic stress disorder. Our childhood, going back to the childhood, our childhood wired us. Actually, let me start with this. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Mm-hmm. You cannot have post-traumatic stress disorder unless you have pre-traumatic stress non-disorder, mm-hmm. right? So the assumption with PTSD is that everyone grows up in a pre-traumatic stress childhood baseline, and that's incorrect.
Right.
That is a fundamental incorrect. It's just not true, mm-hmm. and we know it's not true because we grew up in a childhood where every single day is chaotic. And also, PTSD, by the way, is an event-based diagnosis. Mm-hmm. It must be diagnosed based on one event. Well, right. What do you think they wanted to talk to me about?
Combat. Yeah.
The night I got
specific.
That's all they want to talk about. I'm like, I don't care about that stuff. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend at the time cheating on me.
Yeah.
That messed me up. That's what I have nightmares about, not being blown up. And so, because that tied into childhood, me not being good enough, me being unlovable, blah, blah, blah. Again, it's easy for me to say that now. I didn't understand at the time. And so, lack of traumatic stress disorder is we grew up in a childhood environment that is chaotic, but consistently chaotic, meaning it's not an event, it is an environment. Mm-hmm. So when your brain is in an environment that's consistent, the brain, especially as a child, neuroplasticity, it rewires itself to do what? If the environment is chaotic, all it cares about is survival.
It's survive, yes.
So it's going to rewire your brain to be calm in chaos.
Your limbic system is brilliantly designed to adapt.
No, that's it. That's what it does. Yeah. So we are, as children, rewired to where when the environment is chaotic, we're calm. Well, what does that set you up for? What it sets you up for is now when the environment becomes calm, you become chaotic. Why? Because you know the chaos is coming. My dad's going to get home and I don't know, what state he's going to be in. I'm going to walk from here to the 7-Eleven, and are the bullies that beat me up going to be there? It knows the chaos is coming. So the way you calm yourself is how? You create chaos in the environment, and it takes you back to your homeostasis, and now you're chill as a cucumber. That neurological rewiring, when I came up with the theory of LTSD, there was no proof of the neurological rewiring. There is now. Mm-hmm. So, it was a theory years ago, but now we know that it does do that. What are we calling it today? Well, so now we're saying veterans have PTSD. What we're really saying is LTSD, they're calling ADHD, but it's not ADHD, because ADHD, you can't even get somebody to tell you, like, is ADHD a chemical thing? Is it a wiring thing? No one really knows, right? So the whole point that I'm making is the book is about LTSD, lack of traumatic stress disorder, which allows us to be calm in chaos. What is combat? This chaos. We are more happy in that environment than we are at home in a calm environment. So what it's really doing is I'm putting that out there so that people understand why they're doing what they're doing. And the mechanism that allowed you to survive as a kid, which was great, but that is now what is destroying your life as an adult. Because when everything's okay and everything is calm, you're creating that chaos by drugs and alcohol, getting into a fight with your wife or kids, all that stuff that you're doing, creating chaos, you're doing not because you're a bad person, not because you're crazy, you're doing it just to be able to have some control over your environment. And it's a reverse wiring. You're essentially reverse wired. And once
you create chaotic situations because you're just comfortable there.
Exactly.
I mean, I think the common definition of PTSD is the body's normal response to an abnormal situation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my body's responding normally to an abnormal situation. There's nothing disordered about me at all. My body's doing what it was either adapted or trained or wired to do. It's a situation that's abnormal, right? And so it's kind of is just a misuse. I think a misuse of terms or contradiction of terms in the medical space for that.
Yeah. Well, PTSD, I mean, here's another good example is PTSD is not specific to veterans.
No, it's
anyone can have it for anything.
Right.
So if anyone can have it for anything, then how can that be our specific problem? It isn't.
We don't have a monopoly on trauma.
No, exactly. Yeah. But what I'm saying is I'm not saying PTSD doesn't exist. What I'm saying is it is a blanket statement that's being used for all veterans. And here's a criteria within PTSD that no one likes to talk about. But the criterion for PTSD, I think there's 4. All 4 must be met to diagnose PTSD. The third one is avoidance. In order for you to be diagnosed with PTSD, you must avoid any and everything around the mechanism that caused PTSD, which means if you had PTSD for combat or something in the military, you would avoid anything. You would avoid any military.
Which is not the case. And most people, most of the guys I know with PTSD would go back in a heartbeat.
It's the exact, not only is it not true, but as you know, it's the exact opposite, which tells us within their own criteria for the diagnosis that it's wrong. And the mental health community just has ignored that, which I understand. It's because they're going off of theory, not off of experience. And at this point, I'm of the mentality that we know it's up to us to fix ourselves because we're the ones who have experience in it. And it's up to us to solve it. No one's going to solve it for us.
Yeah, I could so many things that you said could relate to me. I think about like oftentimes you're doing it right now. I'm like sitting here, my foot's always jiggling.
Yeah.
But when I jump, skydiver, when I jump, I'm
chill. Yeah.
Like, cool. But the guys who never jumped before are not there, just sitting there like,
yeah.
But if I'm calm, I'm like that. And the second half of this book, Saving Aziz, talks about this operation. Dennis Price and I went on when we were swimming across the Panjshir River in Afghanistan, and got the Taliban out there, the Russians, the Chinese, and I'm like, and I run high blood pressure, so I'm like, I'm just curious. There was a blood pressure cuff, and I was just by curiosity got the best of him. I'm like, I shouldn't take it because I don't want to wear myself. I'm just curious what my blood pressure is. I took that blood pressure cuff and put it on. I was I was like 120 over 65. And so we get done doing that. We're there for 10 days. I come back and I take my blood pressure. I'm back home. Nothing changes. Oh man. Yeah. I'm 150 over 95.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's crazy to me. I need to be in that environment to keep my blood pressure down.
Yeah. It's reverse wiring from childhood. And that's what the book's about.
Yeah.
The book is about that, really the first 3/4 of the book is really like my story. And then the last fourth is kind of my story is setting up the lessons that I learned and what worked for me. And really the autobiography part is more showing, the reader where I came up with LTSD, where I came up with, I think the core issue in the veteran community, and this goes very much along with faith, I think the core disease, PTS, whether you call it PTS, LTSD, whatever, those are symptoms. The core disease in the veteran community is self-worth.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the core disease. And no one can tell me that a person is taking their own life that truly values themselves. It's not possible.
No.
So it's a self-worth issue. Talking about veterans, you said at the very beginning, you put yourself out there and you get a bunch of hate from veterans. Where's that coming from? Simple. That's coming from their self-worth issue.
Comparison, right?
And they're comparing. Yeah, they're comparing. I deserve it. I've done more deployments, whatever it is. And because they have a self-worth issue themselves. And by the way, I do the same thing. I'm a hypocrite. There's certain people out there that I'm like, how in the hell are they I do the same thing. I'm not by any means, I'm guilty of the same thing. Which means I understand, why it's done. When the whole stuff came out with, Tim Kennedy and all that, and I don't want to get into that whole thing, but it's like, I understand where it came from. I'm not saying I agree with it, but the core issue is I'm not enough. And, I think the vast majority of veterans have some experience in that and understanding of it. And if we all just kind of put that out there and say, hey, dude, I've suffered. This book is about me talking about self-talk and how I still work daily on accepting that I'm enough. And it's probably something I'm going to have to, tell myself for the rest of my life, because in childhood, I learned based on my environment that I wasn't, or the environment told me that I wasn't. So I've had to try and counteract that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
No matter what I did, changed it too. Oh, I was in DEFO. Didn't change how I felt about myself.
Yeah.
Oh, you did this in Hollywood. Didn't change how I felt about myself.
Same. There's nothing. It's a whole. I mean, I think it's a God-shaped hole that we try to fit everything else inside. That's nothing else is going to fit. But that when I say that God-shaped hole, I don't mean just a relationship with God. I think it's understanding who we are, who we're created to be, and our identity being beyond a job. And I think this is about a purpose and identity. It's amazing to be a Delta Force operator. I think you said DEFO, right? Delta Force operator, right? It's amazing to do that. I'm super proud that I was a Force Recon Marine.
Yeah.
Hosting this podcast, I'm proud of it. Founding Mighty Oaks, being an author, speaker, all those things I'm proud of. But that's not who I am. And as soon as I tie my identity to that, it could change in a heartbeat. You get injured, right? And now you're not a Delta Force operator anymore. You could never get a job in Hollywood again. I could never write a book again. People could stop watching this podcast. And those outside of your control, those things could change immediately. And so if your identity is tied to those things, when they're taken away from you, and they will, by the way, at some point, you're crushed, and you have no sense of purpose.
So the term I use is trophies. So, you as a child, I think the vast majority of us, and I'll speak about myself, as a child, I didn't get from the environment that I had worth. So I had no internal worth. So I decided subconsciously, that worth must come externally. So if I had money, a good-looking girlfriend, I was in good shape, I had a cool job, whatever it is. If I had those things are worth. So if I get those things, I'll have worth. And so for years and years and years, I call them trophies. I collected those trophies.
And they're never enough.
Yeah, and it's never enough. You can never get enough trophies. And I had this trophy case, and if somebody, questioned my worth, or if something happened, I'd go, yeah, but look at my trophy case, right? And it worked for a while. For most of us, it works while we're in. While we're in, we have purpose, identity, community, all those different things. And then when we get out, the trophies start falling off the shelf one at a time. Think about it this way, by the way. The Army is a better example of this probably than the Marine Corps. But when you're in, you literally wear your value on your chest, shoulder, and head. Literally. School, all the cool schools, rank, you're wearing your value to where everyone can see it that comes into contact with you. And then one day you're out and now no one knows what you've done, what you're capable of.
Or cares.
Or cares.
Yeah.
And so you
put a lot of that stuff on a resume and people are like, that doesn't matter.
No. I have a story about when I got out.
I don't care that you've been to free fall school like this.
Yeah. How does that translate? Doesn't. I was doing security at a Mac makeup store. And it's a long story of how I got there. It's in the book, but literally I was in a suit standing in a mall doing loss prevention at a Mac makeup store. And again, there's a reason how I got there. It's not like I needed a
After
job.
Delta Force?
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, I was starting a security company. I got the contract. I couldn't fill it with employees. It's not like I just got the job out of a newspaper, but that didn't change the fact that there I was in a suit doing that job. And all I could think of every second of every day while I was there was like, how did I get here? Like, what did I do wrong that, it was so humbling. It was good for me, but it was so humbling to just, it was very humbling.
Yeah, I had Terry Crews on the show and he talked about coming out of the NFL and then sweeping a floor.
Yeah.
And
That's
he had the moment. He's like,
great example. Great example. And so you mentioned one other thing that I want to mention. So important is you mentioned loss of identity, loss of purpose, what I call loss of community. You could call it loss of community, loss of brotherhood, the brotherhood, whatever you want to call it. And the other is purpose, identity, brotherhood, and value, loss of value, worth, right? I think every veteran watching this would agree that those four issues are issues that we all deal with. Agreed?
Yeah.
What do those four things, which we all agree are major issues, what do those have to do with PTS? Nothing. They don't fit in it at all. They have nothing to do with each other.
But it's the biggest issue.
I think
it's a bigger issue than getting injured.
And that's my whole point is that we know those are major issues. They don't fit into PTS. And here's just a fact that the mental health community needs to admit. And that is right now, awareness and treatment options for PTS are at an all-time high. But the problem is getting worse. So if awareness and treatment are at an all-time high and the problem is getting worse, not better, then it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go, hey, obviously then what we're saying is the problem isn't the problem.
It's not a clinical problem.
Because if it was, it would be getting better. And my whole thing is we need to start looking what I think the real problem is, which is those four things. Those are more critical than, and by the way, those things aren't fixed by drugs.
Right. That's what I say. It's not a clinical problem. You're not going
not a clinical problem.
There's not a pill for PTSD.
Nope, there's not a pill to solve those four things. And really, there's not a pill, by the way, to solve PTS.
That's what I say. There's not a pill for PTS. Right?
Yeah, I mean, they'll say there is. Yeah, it'll help
the
the symptoms, but or theoretically help the symptoms, but it doesn't cure the disease. And so the problem that we have as a community right now, in my opinion, is that we're focusing on the symptoms, not addressing the root cause.
Well, I mean, in 90% of the programs that are for PTS or for these issues under the VA or clinical programs. And in fact, I testified before Congress on this and brought this up before Congress, which is a big problem. Any PTS or mental health program for veterans has to be approved by a separate government organization, which is the FDA. Why should the FDA have to approve a program for veterans' mental health care?
Yeah.
Because pharmaceutical companies, lobbyists are involved in it, and it's
100%.
And it's it needs to be exposed. It's a tragedy because the result is the deaths.
People are dying.
Yeah, the deaths.
People are literally dying, and they're just racking up the money. It's a criminal enterprise, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
but I believe. I mean, there's lots of solutions, but one of the things we do at Mighty Oaks, and I know Warriors Heart is big on this. This isn't a clinical problem. This is a a spiritual problem, and a spiritual problem requires a spiritual solution. And whether people believe that means, you have to have a relationship with Jesus is going to fix all your problems and all these things. What it means is when you step in a relationship with the Creator and understand who you're created to be and then live your life accordingly to that, the result of that is finding identity, finding purpose, finding value, finding community. The fruits of that decision actually does solve of these problems that we're talking about.
Yeah. I didn't. The one mistake that I made I made multiple mistakes in the book, but one of the biggest ones I feel now is I get asked about faith and stuff, and I talk about some stuff in the book, but I didn't really put it as a journey. Because there was so much other stuff we were trying to weave in. It was very complicated, jumping timelines and everything. Yeah. But in hindsight, I kind of regret not putting my faith journey, not putting more answers in there. I put a story in the book of when I got hurt, and I was, I don't know, 45 seconds from dying. I had, an arterial bleed. I couldn't put on my tourniquet myself, and I was like, I'm probably going to die, and I'm like, that sucks. And then I remember prior to that, I was like, the term atheist is not really a correct term because you can't actually be an atheist. Even if you're an atheist, you're really an agnostic. You can't prove there's no God. You're just saying, so I was an agnostic. I didn't, at that time, I'm an evidence-based person, and that time I had no evidence. I will add to that though, that I know now. Mm-hmm. A big reason why I never had any faith was because I never loved myself enough to think that anything could love me or anyone could love me, let alone an all-loving God. And people are like, oh, you just, God loves you. And it's like, hold on. You have to have some degree of love for yourself to accept that. Yeah. And I never had it until recently. And so at that time I was like, man, I'm going to die. And then I remember going, oh my gosh, this is when you have a spiritual experience. And I was like excited because I wanted one. And I remember being so excited, and I was like, all right, here it comes. And then nothing happened. And I was like, nope, I don't believe. There's nothing there. Mm. And then this is hilarious. It's in the book. This is hilarious, but it's 100% true what I'm saying. I remember then going, wow, you know what? No, I don't believe. And I think that's actually more right to be about to die and not just change my faith at the last second and be like, oh God, accept Jesus, save me now. Like, that's very selfish. I'm like, no, I'm going to stick with my guns here and go, I don't believe, and I'm not going to suddenly be saved just because I'm about to die. And then the funny thought was, I remember going, and if there is a God, I think he would respect that. You know what I mean? I'm like, if there is a God, I think he would respect that more than just me going, okay, God, now I believe, please save me, which is a very selfish belief. And then I remember just thinking, I think he'd respect that. And you know what? If he doesn't and he sends me to hell, then I'll go there and protest because I think what I'm doing is actually right. It's 100% true story, but it's funny. Then I did, I know Marcus Capone. Hey, Marcus and Vets, great organization. I did that, I don't know, a couple years ago, I forget. And same thing. I went there with this big hope of this spiritual experience and nothing happened for me. And I was so disappointed. And what I've now realized going back, like I always wanted it. I just couldn't fake it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Which is fair.
Yeah.
But, and it did take something happening in my life, several things happening in my life. Look, if you aren't, people are like, oh, faith is believing in something without evidence. No, it's not. Mm-hmm. That's not faith. Like everyone's faith, your faith is based in something.
Oh yeah.
It ain't based in nothing.
Lots of evidence in my life.
You see what I'm saying? Like we are evidence-based beings, right? Yeah. If you believe in something of which there's zero evidence, there's a term for it. It's called psychosis.
Yeah.
Like you're crazy, right? So we base everything in evidence, and I just didn't have that evidence in my life. And then once I had started to get that evidence, then it was very, now no one could convince me of I know what's true for my life. And
Yeah.
I'm not putting that out on everyone else, but I will say this. Anyone who doubts, I get it. I was there for 40 something years, right? So I get it. And I can tell that whole side. I can debate religion with the best of them. It just hadn't happened to me yet, which is totally fair,
Yeah. There's a couple of things you said that I resonate with that I want to bring, kind of leads us to a topic that I really want to talk about, because I've seen it consistent with the highest level people is the topic of imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you could be the highest level of special operations, Hollywood, anywhere, and you feel like you don't belong there. And I think it ties back to what you mentioned is a self-worth issue from childhood.
Yeah.
Everywhere I went in the military, I talked about this on my time on Sean Ryan show. Everywhere I went in the military, I felt like I didn't belong there, and I felt like I had to prove myself. I wasn't qualified to be there. And I still deal with that today, even in ministry, the work I do.
Yeah.
And I think I know now for me, it's a deep childhood wound.
It's a brand.
Yeah.
You were branded.
Yeah. But it's very consistent. Would you say it's consistent with a lot of like high level operators? Like
I would say it's consistent with a lot of high level people. I've worked with, some of the biggest actors in the world, and I'm not obviously going to name names, but I'll give you an example of one. It couldn't be a bigger star. Couldn't be bigger. And I got to know them well enough. And it's not David Boreanaz, just so we're clear, just because that would be the expectation, because I was with him every day. But it was somebody else that couldn't be a bigger star. Super talented, obviously very, wealthy, had every trophy on the trophy case, every single one. And I spent enough time with them that I got to know that person pretty well. We got along great. But I realized, I'm like, this person is actually more insecure than me because of their childhood. And no matter what was said, no matter what, it was all built. And they could. I mean, professional actor, they could. You wouldn't know unless you spent enough time being real to get to that point where you really understood who they really are. And I just realized, I'm like, wow, that's an extreme. It just goes to show you it doesn't matter the trophies you have, how big they are, and how amazing they are. If the fundamental worth for yourself isn't there, and it was, to be honest, it was kind of sad. It made me sad that it made me look at my own life and go, gosh, like I'm doing it too. You know what I mean? It's just it's more extreme with them, and it's easy for me to see. But I'm doing the same thing, and when you're talking about the veteran community, I tell veterans, I mean, if I had $1 for every time somebody's like, oh, I was in, but I didn't do what you did, or some version of that. And I go, oh, stop. I'm like, dude, I got buddies, Tom Spooner. It's a great example. I can't compare myself to Tom Spooner. Not even close. Tom's done a million more things than I have. Were we in the same unit for a time? Yeah, but I can't compare myself to somebody like that. And so I don't. My point being is, as soon as we compare, we start focusing on our differences, not our similarities.
Yeah.
And I'll usually stop that person and go, you said you were in? Yeah. So you're a veteran? Yeah, me too. And that's it. Anything more that we talk about, deployments, units, combat, no combat, we're just going to find differences rather than focusing on what's really important, which are our similarities.
I think it's Theodore Roosevelt. Comparison is the thief of joy.
100%.
It's 100%. I mean, most of the time when you see people comparing, you see a bitter, angry, like just hurt person.
Yeah. But I'm going to change that word.
Yeah.
Thief is comparison is the thief of joy. That's in our community. I think thief is the thief. That's dyslexia. Comparison is the thief of healing.
Yeah.
Because as soon as we start comparing, we remove the ability to heal ourselves and heal each other through our similarities.
We focus on someone else and not yourself.
100%. 100%. And again, all the, Chad Robichaux, blah, 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 blah. That's at the end of the day, anyone can, everyone's got a story. They can put themselves out there. They can start a podcast. They can do what you've done. You know what I mean? Or, you know what I'm saying? They can do all the things. And really it comes down to, we got to just start focusing on ourselves and putting that work into ourselves and not focusing on others. I think the entire world today, I think there is a external force, an evil force that is intentionally trying to get us to compare. It's trying to get us separated.
Yes, division.
It's trying to get us divided because it knows that if we aren't, our strength is scary for them.
Oh yeah, when we unify, right? It's
100%.
We're strong. So it's division. It's just typical. Warfare is warfare, whether it's physical or spiritual warfare.
Oh, and it's been like
The
this.
ta- the
It's not
tactics are
new.
the same.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
not new. Yeah.
Yeah. So the enemy needs to divide us.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Man, yeah, I've just seen that so much, and this, for me, just seeing like, and you said it perfectly, like if your parents can't love you and your spouse can't love you, and then how could you love yourself? And just a sense of unworthiness, and then it just ties into everything you do, like this.
100%. But I'll reverse it on that and say what I've learned is, if you don't love yourself, then your spouse can't love you. You know what I mean? That's what happened to me. The book's really mostly about relationships that I screwed up. Why? Because I didn't love myself, and it was easy for me to project onto the women, but in the reality is I was hard to love because I didn't love me. And if you don't love you, no one else is going to be able to.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So we said all that as I was asking you about your childhood. You come out of an environment that and join the Army. You said your childhood dream was to be an Army special operations.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was your path to going in the Army? And how'd that?
Well, when I joined prior to 9/11, I went in there and I was like, I want to be a Green Beret. I want to be Rambo. And they're like, awesome. No, there was no SF 18 X-ray program. It didn't exist at the time. So they're like, I was like, okay, well, what's the hardest thing you got? And they're like, well, Ranger. I'm like, sign me up. And so I went and did Ranger Battalion. In hindsight, I am so glad that 18 X-ray didn't exist at the time, because Ranger Battalion, in my opinion, is the best place to start, because you start at zero. You suck and you're freaking, mopping, sweeping and waxing floors. Like, you are not, I literally went to Ranger Battalion as an E1. You know what I mean? Like, not an E2, an E1. And so, I think it's important that you start at the bottom. And so Ranger Battalion definitely starts you at the bottom. And that's one of the things I'll always love about it. And so, but my time there, man, I remember being in basic training, and like, I loved it. Everything was making people miserable. I loved it. I loved being in the military. I loved,
you're in your environment, the chaos.
Yeah, just everything about it. I loved it, man. I remember multiple times when people were kind of miserable, and I was just kind of like, man, I'm having fun. Like, what's wrong with me? But, and then I went to, as I said,
getting paid to work out. Like,
I was like, dude, this is awesome. Yeah. I mean, riding dirt bikes and, it was like a dream job. Right. So, became a sniper, which was really awesome, and spent, several years. I was sniper team leader, and then a sniper section leader. And I deployed to Afghanistan. September 11th happens. I was going to get out, because I was like, dude, I want to go to war. When September 11th happened, I shouldn't say September 11th. When we got our orders to Afghanistan, I reenlisted for 6 years. Right. And while I was in Afghanistan, we were with a AFO team and from my old unit, and my sniper team got attached to them because they didn't have, a sniper team, obviously Afghanistan, long range and everything. And so we did some missions with them, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. Yeah. So I got back and put in a packet and went to selection, and was, lucky enough to make it the first time, which was great because, I think I went there at 25, 20,
just
24, 25.
Assessment and selection of the long walk.
Yeah.
That's the kind of nickname for it, right? The long walk. I know you guys can't talk much about it. What can you say about it to those who may not know? Like,
a lot of people have asked, and I asked it too before I did it.
Sure, yeah.
What is rucking over unknown distance have to do with CQB hostage rescue? Like,
Right.
seems like polar opposites, right? And even when I was doing it, I didn't really understand it.
Yeah.
Even when I made it and was in the unit, I didn't fully put it together. It took a couple of years before I looked back and was like, oh, now it makes perfect sense. So I'll just say this. It seems like it doesn't make any sense, but knowing what I know now, it makes absolute perfect sense.
Mm.
And the reason it makes sense is hostage rescue CQB is something that you can either do or you can't. And the prerequisite for being able to do it is you have to be calm in chaos. If you are not, like, and the way I describe calm in chaos is this. If you come into a room, or if you get into a gunfight, let's just say, or you're assaulting a house, if prior to the assault, if gunfire happens and you kick into fight or flight mode, you're screwed.
Mm.
The only way you can do hostage rescue style CQB is if you live your entire life in fight or flight mode. You're always on, right?
Mm.
And so the difference between, coming in this room, in a hostage rescue situation and not, it's no different for your nervous system, because your nervous system's always at that hyper level of activation. So what I'll say is, knowing what I know now, the entire process is really looking for people that have the ability to do that.
Critical think under pressure, be calmness and composure under.
Yeah, I would say it's looking for people whose really it's a nervous system that can it's a very specific trait that they're searching for.
So you're saying Delta Force is full of a bunch of childhood traumatized kids?
I wouldn't go as far to say that. I will say that I'll say that there is a certain quality that every single person has. It is being given a name right now that I think is incorrect. Mm-hmm. And again, at the highest level of combat, you can't. It's just like people say, like, oh, I can't believe you can run at a person shooting at you. That's I can't imagine that. Well, no, you shouldn't imagine it, because it goes against your survival instinct. Right. It's stupid. You know what I mean? The only way you could do that is if your survival instinct is reversed.
It's reversed, yeah.
And it's reversed from childhood by seeking that chaos. That chaos is more comfortable than the lack of it. Yeah. And that is, chaos is combat. So you're literally looking for people whose baseline, their fundamental baseline of their nervous system and of their brain is calm in chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. And, I've got to spend time amongst, guys in the premier tier 1 units and the personality traits and the just level of, it's like, just the caliber of human being is just different.
There's differences, there's a lot of differences, but there's more similarities, than there are differences. And then, then there's the freaks of nature, like the Tom Spooners of the world, who are just like these, Buddhist monks. And I don't mean he's a Buddhist, but I'm just saying, like the Zen operator.
The high intellectual.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a very unique dude. Even in that environment, he stood out, I remember, to me. But there's just a lot of amazing people. And, I'm on this podcast right now. I can tell you, everyone I can think of in that world is better than me, but they're maybe still in the silent professional mode, and you'll never know their names, unfortunately. And it's sad, because I think we need more of those real heroes, true heroes, to kind of put themselves out there, not to heroize themselves, but to show the new generation of what a real hero is.
Yeah, I think it's necessary as well. So you get through the long walk, you get selected, and you go, obviously as a training pipeline to do that job, and then you get to deploy at the well, one of the 2 premier Tier 1 units in the world, by the way.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it was just, again, I was living my dream job, I wouldn't have, I couldn't have changed, anything, or at least that I had control over, but, it was just living that dream life, and it was everything that I wanted it to be. Like, I remember, I'll tell you a story. I remember, when I was in Ranger Battalion, like, it would happen occasionally where you'd have like, what I would call like movie cool moments, right, where you're like, holy shit, it's like a movie, right? When I was there was like movie cool moments almost every day. You know what I mean? Where you're like, dude, this is like movie cool, And I just, I was living my dream job, living my dream life. And then, eventually it all ended like that. And that was hard to, it was very hard to accept that it was over, and that took me years. So
you got injured in Iraq. Can you tell us about that operation and what took place? And
it was. I detail it obviously in the book, but we were doing an assault. It's so funny. Well, I'll get there, but we hit a house, and I can't explain exactly what was. There was something going on that led to, we were doing what we were doing for a reason.
Right.
It's a reason I can't explain, but there was a reason. So anyways, we hit a house, and turns out it was the wrong house. I knew as soon as I went in. I was like, this ain't it. And so we eventually came outside. We had a DEVGRU team attached to us with Andy Stump. Andy Stump's, I guess, the biggest name that was on that team.
Andy's awesome, by the way. He's got a good book, Drum.
Yeah. I heard. Yeah, but Andy was on that deployment with. We were hurt on the same target. So when he got shot, that's when I got hurt. And so we started, moving to this other house that was like right next door, pretty much. It was Solder City, so it was a really neighborhood, quite frankly. But so we go to this other house, and what's funny is in the book, I say that the shots, the gunfire happened before we entered. That's how I remembered it. My buddy, after he read the book's like, dude, it didn't start until you were in the house. And I was like, really? That was just how I remembered it. So turns out the book is wrong. And
I'm so happy to hear you say that, because everybody just attacks over that. It's like, we got multiple people with different perceptions.
Yeah, that's how I remembered it. And I mean, in hindsight, it kind of makes sense, because I don't remember the breach at all. I do not, it's not in my head. I was the breacher, so I know I did it. I was first in. I don't know how I did it. But anyways, we get inside the house, and then we were in a big gunfight. And we pushed down a hallway and got shot to shit in the hallway. The guy next to me got shot multiple times. We backed out of that. And then what eventually happens is, we were in that hallway. There was multiple dudes in a room at the end of the hallway on the right. And we were getting ready to... It was one of those tactical situations that was just not a good one. There's really, I don't care if you're the, if you're the Boy Scouts or the freaking, the DFO, like it's a bad situation. There's not an easy way around it. So my buddy was prepping a grenade, and next thing we know, everything explodes and blew my night vision goggles off my face. I thought that my arm was blown off. That's how it felt. And I know it sounds weird, but it's a feeling. So I felt like my arm was gone. So suddenly I, couldn't see. Everything was blacked out, smoke and, in the room. And I don't remember. I took a pretty severe head injury too, which I'll send you pictures of my helmet or whatever. But I just, some people are like, oh yeah, this happened. And then I was just confused. And again, now I know the head injury was pretty severe, but I was just confused. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know where anyone was. The guy that got blown up next to me, I don't know where he went. He just disappeared. And eventually I looked for my arm. I had like a flashback to Saving Private Ryan, and I like felt on the ground for my arm, didn't find it. And then I was like, what am I doing? I mean, there was a gunfight I could hear, I was like, I should probably get out of here. So I walked out of the house, and there was a porch light on the back patio, and I looked at my arm, and it was just hamburger meat, from damn near the wrist all the way to the shoulder. I mean, it was hanging on by, really just that. It was broken. It was hanging just by skin, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at it. I'm like, well, that's gone. It's like my right arm's gone. And then I was in there was a wall around the back patio, so I couldn't hop that. And I just went to the wall and put my back to it and sat down. And that was kind of when I was having the religious thing that I told you about earlier. That was when I was thinking that. And
did you think you're bleeding out, right?
Oh, I knew that.
You said you tried to put a tourniquet on your.
It was impossible. Literally, there was no. My tourniquet was on my right side, so it was very hard to get to. Then I think I pulled it off, but it just, how they teach you is not how it works. And I was fumbling with it, and that probably went on for, I don't know. Time's impossible to gauge, but a certain amount of time. And then luckily a friend got to me and actually put the tourniquet on me and saved my life. Like, no question. I don't know how long I had left, but it was not long. It was probably under 30 seconds. And I don't think I would have died right then, but how once you get to that point of blood loss, it's
to get you back.
Yeah. It may not kill you then, but it's going to kill you an hour later. I think I was probably 20 seconds from that is my guess. And I eventually got evac'd on a Little Bird. Actually, they put me in the hellhole of the Little Bird, and the medic laid on me because we weren't secure. Got to the Baghdad cache and went into surgery. Next day, I flew to Balad, was there for a short amount of time, had a conversation with General McChrystal, which is in the book. It was kind of random. And then flew to Germany, and then eventually back to the U.S.
Yeah. Did you guys ever figure out what it was? Was it that grenade or that went off, or?
There was a bunch of theories, but for me at this point,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Well, so, I mean, at that point, you go to launch school, you get back to the States, and was it pretty quick that you knew your career was over?
No. That's part of the. I really thought for probably a year that I was just like hard chart. No, man, I'm going to be,
because guys come back and do other things like canine handler.
Yeah. Well, the doctors are like, oh, you're going to blah, blah, blah. I'm like, they always say that you'll never walk again. So I didn't take anything they said seriously for about a year. And then it was one surgery that I got. And when I kind of was done with that surgery and kind of felt how my hand and arm was, I was like, reality hit me hard.
Yeah.
And the thing that I was told, and you're going to laugh at this because it makes so much sense to me what I'm about to, or it made so much sense at the time. And I'm going to tell you, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, it makes sense at the time, but holy crap, was I wrong. So at the time, it's like 2000, whatever, 7, 8, and I'm like, they told me that I had a like 40 or 50, I forget the number. I think it was a 40% chance of going back to a team after 5 years. It's pretty low numbers, and 5 years is a long time.
5 years, yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's going to be 2000, whatever, 11, 12, I forget. I'm like, Afghanistan's done. Because it was then.
Yeah.
I'm like, Iraq will be done, and then I'll go back to a team, and there'll be no more war.
Yeah.
But for those 5 years, I'm going to have to watch dudes deploy and not be able to go. And I just was like, I can't do it. I'll kill myself. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can't do it. I admit I'm not strong enough. I cannot do that. So I really pulled the plug on myself. And the irony was that, no, I probably could have been back to a team in 2.5, 3 years. I definitely could have went back to a team.
And there was plenty of war.
And there was plenty of war left. So that was really hard, around 2011, 2012. I really went through a dark place because of just the realization that no, I could have stayed, and look at all the wars that are happening. And I really got down on myself for a while, that I pulled the plug on myself. Again, the logic that I just told you, totally sound, but I was wrong, and that was hard to accept.
At what point did you reach contentment with it?
I'm not sure. I definitely think in hindsight now, had I not gotten hurt, I would have probably gotten killed, because I was just stupid. I was way too aggressive and just young and just like, so I think it was probably the best thing for me. But I don't know. I don't remember when I kind of decided that. I just kind of let it go, but it was hard for a while.
Yeah.
It was definitely, it was harder knowing that I had done it to myself. I think it would have been easier to accept, or maybe harder. I don't know if somebody else had forced me to medically retire, but I chose it. Again, I've explained it, but, I know I could have done the job. I don't think I could have been a breacher again, or, there's certain things I couldn't have done, but I could have still done the job.
Yeah. What was the transition time like between getting out, and did you immediately pack up and go to Hollywood? Or?
Yeah, I did. The problem is when I got out, I still did surgeries for about 2 years.
Okay.
So I still was doing, on this surgery cycle, which was like surgery, heal up, rehab, couple months, surgery. It was that went on for 2 years. And at that time, I was, without a doubt, in hindsight, clinically depressed, no doubt about it. My testosterone was probably like 8, I couldn't work out. So I couldn't work out for 5 years at all, like not at all. And I could have probably done, a recumbent bike or something like that. But like, far as working out, I couldn't do it. And that really broke me.
That's a big thing, but you're talking about hormones and like your testosterone, like so many guys getting out, like, we're partnered with, Core Medical.
Sydney.
Yeah. Sid. They're such great people, by the
way.
way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's a big factor in a lot of guys. Depression and suicide is just not having their hormones right.
I figured that out in about 2013 or 14. I figured that out on my own. I forget how, but I just was like, I need data. You know what I mean? It's like, I need numbers. And so I went and got this is way back, when it wasn't done. It was like the first ageless clinic had like opened, and I went there, and it was an 82nd Airborne veteran doctor who ran it. And I was like, something is wrong, and I want to get blood work done to see what it is. And I forget my testosterone, but it was like stupid low. I was basically a woman, you know what I mean? And when I got on TRT at that time, it changed my life, at that time. It literally, it was crazy too, because so many things that, you think are you realize, no, that's not you. That's a hormone in your body. Like, you think it's you, but really, it's just something that your body makes, right? And when your body doesn't make anymore, if this is you and there's a volume, it turns down the volume of you.
And you got then male, female, like you got to get your blood work done.
It's like, critical. Everyone should do it.
Especially with what's out there today. Like Core Medical is a great example. They able to look at a full panel, and at least like, even if you don't need it,
100%.
At least where you're at.
And I'd say, even if, and again, we're talking about, let's say, testosterone, but a full panel has a lot of info, and it's way bigger than just that hormone, and there's a million different things. Vitamin D deficiency is a pretty big deal, and magnesium, all these things. So you definitely need data. You need to get your blood work done. I go through Core Medical.
I'll say shout out to them. It's a good reference to, if you don't know where to go, just go to Core Medical. I forget the website, but Core Medical.
I think it's Core Medical Group, like grp.com.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the end.
Yeah, we'll put a link below.
But that was absolutely critical. And I've figured out, the book is like, and the hormones is in the book. It was like all the different things that I figured out along the way. And that's the other thing is I should mention the biggest problem is, in my experience, is, PTS or PTSD. It's this is the problem. And that's not true. The reality is the problem is these 20 different things.
Right.
And if you just focus on one, you're ignoring the 19. And the reality is getting better is you doing something for all 20. And that's what I've found in my own life. And that's what's made a difference for me.
Yeah. What I want to close out, but before I do, I want to the unit Delta Force has been getting a lot of exposure for Venezuela, Iran.
Yeah.
I mean in Venezuela, when we got Maduro, the story is that they didn't lose one guy from whether there was a squadron. I'm not sure how many Delta Force operators were on the ground, and they killed 200 Venezuelan of the Venezuelan Guard in the most secured facility in all of Venezuela. What's your kind of impression of that, of what we know about that operation?
Well, I'll say this. Yeah, the Venezuela thing is talked about, or Iran, all these different things. The unit's done a lot of things that one day will be talked about. I think people would be shocked at the level of things that have been accomplished but aren't widely known. And it's just it's a unique group of people that is really, it's just a unique organization, and the structures in place and the process on how that unit does everything is what makes it successul.
And the resources they have available, right?
Oh yeah, the research.
I don't know if it's true or not, but they're them talking about using ultrasonic weapon to incapacitate.
I heard about that.
The adversaries is whether that's true or not. The fact is that they have, if there's technology out there, those are the guys that have access to that technology.
Well, or even better is, you're being there, you're at a place that you can develop stuff. If you have an idea, you can get it made, and then that's really great. And
the government procurement process is different there, right?
Yeah. It's you make it, and there's many examples of that, but it's just a unique place. And what makes it unique, like I said, is it's just structured. Everything that it is different than the normal process, and that's what gives it its ability to do what it does. Yeah,
just thinking outside the box, innovative stuff. So speaking about thinking outside the box, I'm not going to reveal it, and I'll let you say what you want to say. But you had shown it before. You developed something, and I've been shooting guns my whole life. I'm 50 years old, and I think there's big misconception in Force Recon. We're not pistol shooters. I think now they are, but back in my day, Recon Marines were, but now they're pretty good with all aspects of gunfighting. But I go over to Air Marshals, and when I went over to Air Marshals, actually it was CAG that was running the program there. Most of the old school,
with
Max was running it after.
Yeah, and what's his name? I can't think of his name, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, learned how to shoot from those guys, and front sight was in. But again, I won't reveal what it is. But you come up with something that I've never seen before in all my time around pistols, and I grabbed the product you showed me, and right away I'm like, this is not only different, this is better.
It's it's as outside the box as you can get. I noticed a problem when I was in. When I was in, I noticed that there was a big difference between what we were taught and what you had to do in combat. And so I was like, it shouldn't be that way. What we're taught should be what we do. And so I basically figured out a product that allowed us to not fight what the body wants to do, but instead goes along with what the body will do, instead of trying to get us to do something it can't do. So I have a gun sight coming out for pistols that'll be probably up on the website in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and I'm very excited about it. It's going to change the game. It's going to change the game a lot.
We're going to leave here and go to the range.
And we're going to go shoot it.
Shoot it. And I'm already excited to get, Smith & Wesson. I'm an ambassador for Smith & Wesson. They're a sponsor for the show. I say sponsor, they're a partner of the show, and they're my friends. And I've been shooting Smith & Wesson since I was 6 years old. So I love the brand. So if I could, we're going to go shoot it, but I'm already excited to introduce them to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I one thing about me too is I had a Guns and Ammo subscription when I was like 8 years old, right? Yeah. I'm a gun nerd, and most guys, I would say, even at my old unit, it's like, a gun's a gun, it's a gun's a tool. And it is, I'm not saying it isn't, but for me, like I'm a fanatic, so I just love, it's my passion. And again, I kind of did the same thing, which was Hollywood. And I was like, all right, I feel kind of good with where I'm at here. Now let me do another passion. And I'm going to start making products under a new company. And the company is called Saberdyne Systems. Will be the name of the company. And we've got a couple products that are going to be game changers, not something people have seen. And you'll get to shoot, you'll be one of the first people to shoot the pistol sights today, and we'll see what you think.
I'm excited. We're going to shoot usually I'm teaching guys how to shoot the sniper rifle, but now I got a Delta 4 sniper here with me, so you can shoot me.
Well, I wasn't a unit sniper. I was a sniper in Ranger Battalion, and then, but yeah, it's I love sniping just because it was such a well, now it's a lot.
Have you used any of the rangefinders?
Yeah. I haven't used one that automatically calibrates the reticle. I haven't used that yet. Yeah. But it's sad to me because I liked doing the math. It was unmasterable at that time. It was an unmasterable skill. You could never truly master all the different aspects of it. And I just loved. It was just a great job. I liked being an assaulter too. So that they're both great in different ways. But the technology now is just, there's so many ideas and so many, I'm just very excited to kind of take where things are.
I love it and hate it.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like I was very reluctant to red dot and I've done it. But then today when you showed me a new iron sight, I got excited.
Yeah.
I love iron sights and I mean, I love being a Marine. Me and my father was a Marine. Both my sons are Marines. I love being a Marine. And one of the things I always loved about being a Marine was every Marine, whether you were a cook or whatever, you're a basic rifleman, and they had to shoot
iron sights,
500 yards iron sights.
Yeah.
And so you got some guy that was a admin guy or cook. He could shoot 500 yards with iron sights. And the Marine Corps went away from that, and they're using And I'm like,
are you serious?
They're shooting 500 yards, but they're using optics and learning optics. They're not learning off of iron sights anymore.
That's sad. I didn't
broke my heart.
Yeah, that's
broke my heart. If we're gonna go back and change anything in the Marine Corps, we got to get back to iron.
Yeah,
I think you learn that first, and then you could use all the technology later. It's just like a GPS, right? You can use GPS, but you damn well better know how to use a map and compass and do a resection intersection. You can go out and operate because GPS is great.
My buddy was explaining to me the problem he's been in since, him and I were together. And he was saying the problem with kids today is that they don't know what the technology is doing for them.
Yeah.
And he's like, so the problem is they know how to do it, but he's like, they don't know what it replaced. So they don't really understand how the system works. GPS is a great example. Like you need to know what the GPS is doing, which is really a constant triangulation, retrace or whatever, constantly, to figure out your position. But if you don't understand how to use a map and compass and do those basic
a resection intersection, you can't
those
do that.
basic things. Yeah, it's you're missing really understanding how navigation works to a degree.
Yeah. So before you use GPS, you should be able to use an MAP.
Yes, exactly.
Man, so many things we get to talk about, but I'll make sure we plug the book. Guys, if you don't have a copy of Fortune Cast, get a copy. If you hadn't seen SEAL Team, go back and watch it. CBS is still out there all the way.
Yeah, Paramount Plus, I think. Yeah.
7 seasons?
7 seasons, yeah.
7 seasons.
And I also, I did, one of the weirdest things I've ever done is the audiobook for the book.
It's hard, isn't it? I had a hard time.
I hated it. It was not a fun project. People, I used kind of my acting background and I kind of made it, I kind of performed it a little bit. So like if there's an argument, it's an argument. It's not just read. So people that have listened to the audiobook really like it, but doing it was just
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like 6 hours. I think each of these books are 6-hour audio reads.
Yeah.
These two bottom here, but I spent 4 days.
No, same.
Yeah.
That was 7 days,
Yeah.
and again, it's a story of my life. So it's like you're performing the story of your life. It's just the weirdest.
I found myself wanting
thing.
to say stuff that wasn't there.
Oh, dude,
Yeah, I was like,
don't even
that's
get me started.
horrible.
Yeah.
But-
I should add this for context.
Yeah,
It's like, shit.
Yeah,
I'm with
just read it.
Yeah.
But on my fiction books, I had Ray Porter. You know who Ray Porter is? He read Jack Carr, all the Jack Carr's books, and the new movie out right now, Project Hail Mary. When that book came out, he was the audio reader for that.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so my book, Silent Horizons, which this is book 2 of Silent Horizons, it's a 3-book series. Ray Porter, he read all 3 of the books for the series, but we won an audio award because
nice.
not because of the content of the book, probably because of his
reading.
talent.
Yeah,
His
that's
reading is
awesome.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
So shout out to Ray because he's got that movie out. Ryan Gosling.
Actually we have one of the pistols was the pistol Gosling trained on for, so I got to work with him
really?
briefly for Gray Man. Yeah. Because of my buddy Chili Palmer, but, he is the single best shooter I've ever taught.
Really?
Dude, he's a freak in nature. Yeah. He's a freak in nature, but,
that's amazing because, I think it's something to do with acting. I had Kirk Cameron. Kirk Cameron.
It is. It's because they're flawless mimickers.
Yep.
So it's like you tell him what to do, and he does it exactly.
That was it.
Said. Yeah.
Kirk Cameron came out and he's like, I never shot a gun before in my life. So I'm like, okay, well, let me, here's here's your 4 safety rules, and here's how you do a grip, and here's how you do a squeeze, and here's your stance, and I'm just broke it all down for him. He's just listening. I put him in front of a 6-plate rack, and he goes, in 2.8 seconds, first time ever, all 6 plates, ding, 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 ding. And I was like, you're BSing me, dude. Like,
no,
he's like, no, I never shot before.
Perfect. They're an A-list actor's unique skill is that they will flawlessly observe, and they will do it exactly like robotic perfect.
Yep.
And every A-list actor I've ever worked with, all can do that. That's why you see them go to Terrans, on whether it's, any actor you can think of at this point, but that's why they go to his place and they're crushing it. It's because they're all capable of doing that perfect mimicry where like Gosling, you told him, do it this way, and he would do it and he would mess it up once. And then the second time he did it, it was perfect. So then you'd go, okay, now add this. And then he'd mess it up once, and then it was perfect. So the progression, you could cut 5 years down to 5 hours, because they're just so good at that. It's a really unique, it's a unique thing to watch, how good they are at it.
He did a great job in that movie, Hail Mary. It's pretty good.
I want to see it so bad. I'm going to go actually see it probably this weekend.
Yeah, right on.
Thank you.
Well, hey, man, thanks for coming on the show. We have amazing sponsors for the show that and they love our guests, especially guys like you. Smith & Wesson, Vortex Optics, and Gators Eyewear. We're gonna get you a Smith & Wesson gun,
sweet,
courtesy of Smith & Wesson Firearms, a Vortex Optic,
awesome.
some Gators Eyewear, and then you already know Core Medical,
of course,
and Bioaccelerator Stem Cell Company. In fact,
that's the one thing that I need to do is stem cells because of my injury. I haven't.
Well, you got to go with Bioaccelerator because
is that Sydney's?
Well, Sydney now Sydney. We're partnering. They're actually partnering.
Yeah.
Bioaccelerator and Core.
Okay.
And but
that's
the clinic,
right.
the clinic, if you want to get the good
Cancun
treatment, we got to go down to Medellín, Colombia.
Oh, it's Medellín. Oh, I hate Medellín. It's a horrible place.
It's horrible. Yeah. it is. If you hadn't been, everybody thinks Colombia, and they're like, oh my gosh, Colombia. Medellin's one of my favorite cities.
I literally, if I could buy a house, I think you have to be a Colombian national to buy property, but I love Medellín.
Not anymore.
Medellín.
You can buy now.
Beautiful. Really?
You can buy now. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah, it's awesome. So I'll make a commitment if the timing works out. I'll go down there with you,
dude. I'm in.
We'll get you hooked up because I have a couple of that I could get guys to stem cell, and you're more than deserve that opportunity. So
it's literally something I've wanted to do for a long time. So.
Let's do it.
Awesome.
All right. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Oh, also one more sponsor that really relates to you, Silent. Have you heard of Silent? Faraday bags.
I mean, I know the Faraday bags, but no, not.
They make they have the best variety and make
Awesome.
amazing Faraday bags, and they're partner of the show.
Oh, great.
So that's who I use now. So I'll
Yeah.
make sure you get hooked up there
Yeah,
too.
thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll put all the show notes below for people to find you, especially for your new product coming out and the book.
Awesome.
But
well, thanks so much for having me, man.
yeah, let's go eat and shoot.
All right. Let's do
Hey
it.
guys, thanks so much for watching. If you're not already done so, like this episode, leave a comment for about what you thought about it, and share it. Share it as far and wide as you can. And if you're not already a member, please join our Patreon. You can join right directly on YouTube or join a Patreon. But a lot of complaints about ads. I hate ads too. You always can get our ads of our sponsors and stuff like that baked in. But YouTube, they run a lot of ads because they're a company. And so if you don't like the ads, then just join Patreon or join the YouTube. If you join Patreon, you'll get ad-free episodes in advance, so you'll get to see them early in advance, and you get tons of behind-the-scene bonus content. It's all for as low as like $5 a month. And by the way, it's one of the best ways to support the show and keep these episodes coming to you. So please support by becoming a Patreon member and get all those benefits. And we'll see you next week. God bless and stay resilient. Hey, what's up, Resilient family? I am so grateful for each of you who tune in every week to hear our episodes. We have such incredible guests and topics that I am passionate about, our team's passionate about, and we could not do it without you. So we're thankful for you. We love you. We appreciate you locking arms with us to be more informed, to become a more resilient community. And I want to invite you to become a tighter part of that community by joining us on Patreon. If you go to our show notes below, you can click the link and get dialed into our Patreon and get extra content weekly. You can join for $15 a month and get behind the scenes footage, get closer access to me. I have monthly Zooms that I'll be doing with some members of the community. And so we'd love to get more involved. Again, go below in the show notes and click the link and join today.